Your friends still don't really think you're that smart student. Your parents still think that you've been slacking even though you've been studying consistently. I'm sure that you've been trying your best to study and improve your grades, but nothing ever worked to did it. Your grades are still the same, and your free time is still being spent on things that you don't really want to do. Maybe outside of studying and exams, you have hobbies that you want to pursue, but because of the fact that your grades are still not as high as you want it to be, your free time is being wasted. This is killing you from the inside, and you want a way out. You look at those smart students who still go out during exam season, they still get A's, while you were at home the whole time studying. What were you missing? When I first discovered Deep Work by Cal Newport, I thought that the concept of deep work was quite interesting. I never really thought that me not doing deep work was a bad thing, because I thought that if you just study and understand the knowledge that you were studying, it didn't really matter. But when I realized that deep work was actually the main constraint that is holding you back, and that deep work is studying that gives you the highest leverage, I realized that deep work was important because it's something that saves your time. And that 1 hour of studying with a deep work intention was worth 5 hours of just mindlessly studying like how everyone else studies. And that was when I realized that deep work is extremely important, especially in areas like the GCE A levels, where the content is really hard, especially if you get to the later years of studying. That was when I realized that having deep work in your whole schedule and as your main part of studying makes you study so efficiently and effectively that you can study less than some people but still score way higher grades than them, because you have more leverage, because the depth of your studying is more deep than them. You get to see links that they don't see. And guess what? These links are the links that are tested in exams. How did deep work help me though? Deep work helped me to understand what the examiner wanted to test. The examiner will never test, or rarely tests, things that are already in the textbook that you already know. However, they want to test things that require you to think outside the box based on what you have already studied. How do you get good at this? Because this is literally the margin that you need to overcome to get A's. Deep work is the direct answer for this, because that is what the examiner has been doing. They have been deeply understanding the particular subject that they have been teaching, and they actually think in the perspective of students who do deep work. And that is how you get A's, because that is what the examiner is doing to make the questions for the exam in the first place. Imagine you're at the gym and you see two types of people. The first type of person wants to train biceps, as well as the second type of person. The first type of person uses one exercise and they do it with extreme intention. They go all the way to failure and even push past failure, and they physically cannot stop themselves from making grunting noises in the gym. Whereas the second type of person has two or three exercises for biceps, but he doesn't really go to failure. He only stops shy like halfway, and in between sets, he's not really focused on what he's doing. Instead, he's just mindlessly using his phone and entertaining like the group chat that he has with his friends. Obviously, the first type of person would make more progress in his bicep development. And that is the same for studying. Obviously, the type of student who employs deep work as his main strategy will get the highest grades because he is the one putting the most effort into studying, even though he's not spending as many hours. The difference is effort. And if you put in more effort by understanding what deep work is, you get to study 1 or 2 hours a day, while everyone else is studying way more than that. Or thinks that they have to study way more than that. Well, then you might ask, if deep work is so good, why is everyone else not doing it? It is because everyone else is constantly distracted by social media and things that are not related to studying. In fact, this book by Cal Newport actually stated that the number one reason why people are not using deep work or are constantly shy of being able to do work that is extremely effective is because they are constantly distracted 24/7 by social media and those kind of applications on their phone. I'm not saying you can't use social media, but at the very least, the moment you wake up and you have to do a deep work session for studying, you should completely not use social media at all until you do your deep work. And after doing the deep work, yeah, sure, if you want to use it for like 30 minutes at the end of the day or 1 hour, by all means, go ahead. This includes WhatsApp, by the way. I know that might sound crazy to some people, and it is, but it's also crazy to be able to study 1 to 2 hours a day and having grades that are way higher than everyone in your school. And it's not as deep of a sacrifice as you think. Just holding off the messages for that 2 to 3 hours in the morning does a lot for your grades. And emergencies never really happen. If there was really an emergency, they would just call your phone by like the phone app. They wouldn't use WhatsApp. And I've been doing this since throughout my whole period in GCE A levels, and there was never once an emergency. And if you really do need to check your phone, you can just do it immediately after you're done with like studying. And when you get better at deep work, you might even just need to study like 1 hour or 1 hour 30 minutes at the start of the day, and that's enough. And then you can, by all means, like, check your messages, like if you need to like text your parents. By all means, that's fine. But holding it off so that you can do your deep work first and so that you're not distracted by the notifications that come up on your phone is the only way that you are gonna get leverage that is so high that you overtake the smartest students in your school in the first place. But how does one achieve deep work? Well, one step you can take is to be really intentional about what you want to study. Most people, when they want to study a subject like maths or physics or chemistry, they just tell themselves, okay, I will spend 2 hours tomorrow studying chemistry, which you might think is completely fine, right? But what? The problem is that chemistry is such a big subject. You can't study the whole thing in 2 hours. So, what aspect of chemistry are you studying? Most people are not specific about that. What you need to do is to take the tasks that you have to do, in the sense like what homework you have or what chapter of a subject that you want to do or you want to study the next day, and be extremely specific about it, and plan that in your Google Calendar. On Google Calendar, this app called Google Calendar, where you can just have like time blocks and name the tasks that you have to do, so that you are really intentional about what you have to do, and things get done so much more effectively because your brain knows what to do. And this makes it less likely for you to procrastinate, because you know exactly what you're gonna do. You're gonna do question 1 to 5 of chemistry. What's the topic in chemistry? Chemistry mole concept. If you don't know what that is, it's fine. But question 1 to 5 on like this specific chapter, and that will make your study sessions so intentional. And you know that after question 5, what the fuck? Sorry, are you done? Okay, so you know that after question 5, you're done studying for that particular subject, or you are done studying for that day. You know exactly where to stop. Most students, when they start, they're not really that deep into like what they're learning because they're constantly distracted. But they don't know when to stop because they're not intentional about what they want to study. So it just becomes this whole mess of like wasting precious time that they could have been using in other areas of their life, or like using in like going out with friends and like things that are fun. Because you can still do that, by the way. Like doing deep work is supposed to help you take back your time so that you can do things that are more fun. That's the whole like spiral of it. People want to procrastinate, but that ends up they end up spending more time studying. They don't spend less time studying. They spend more time studying because they're not intentional about what they want to study. That's problematic. And I don't want that for you. If you want extremely like detailed ways on how you can be so deep in your work that you get the grades that you want, you can check out my academic course in the description below. And I go into that Google Calendar intentional planning way more in detail, and I show you how you actually can do that with what homework that you have. And I can show you how to make it specific. What do you think are some pitfalls that people will have as they're trying to implement deep work in their studying schedule? Well, first is the fact that they will be distracted by social media, and it's not easy to not like check it first thing in the morning. But you just have to control yourself. If getting good grades and having high leverage in studying is important to you, and you don't want to waste 6 to 10 hours a day studying and that not being effective for you in increasing your grades even by like 5 marks in the exam, stop using social media first thing in the morning and do your studying first, your deep work first. Another pitfall that people will have is that they don't really know how to enter that deep state of studying, because it's something that's not really talked about in school. Yeah, sure, they tell you to study, but they don't really explain how. And with that, I would say you could keep experimenting 3 to 4 months, fail, learn, get better at deep work, or you can just learn from other people who have done deep work before. One recommendation I would give you is to definitely read the book Deep Work by Cal Newport. And if you really want to speed up your process, you can check out my course in the description below. I'm someone who has entered the 8th best university in the world, so you know my methods are legit. And you can check it out if you want to. people also study with their friends a lot, which is fine actually. Like this is something that even I do, even though I value like having deep work. Because let's be honest, when you're studying with your friends, you're not really like extremely focused in what you're doing. You're like discussing with them and like honestly talking to them about things that are not related to what you're studying, which is fine actually. If you finish your deep work first, by all means, you can study with your friends and let that be a sort of like bonding session with your friends. That's okay. But the problem lies in the fact that if that is your only form of studying, is studying with your friends, then you will find that your grades can tank. Unless when you meet your friends, you are like extremely focused in like what you're studying. Then that is fine. But I will also argue like, isn't it just more fun to just study yourself first for like that 1 or 2 hours? And if you wanna like mess around with your friends, you can just do that as well. So that is some pitfalls that people might have as they are implementing deep work, and be careful of those pitfalls. Another reason why you should really consider on making deep work your main weapon of choice during your exams and studying and learning in general is because you get grades that are nothing short of crazy. Like I explained in the first part of this video, if you know how the examiner thinks because of how deep your studying is and how you can understand the intricacies of like how exam questions are made, and you can think in the perspective of the examiner, there is nothing holding you back, man. Like that is quite literally broken, right? It's like thinking, it's just you can understand how that's broken, right? So that is, if you want to get grades that are not just A's, but that are like grades that people have never seen since like primary school. Like people might get 70, right? But when was the last time you've seen someone get like 85 or 90 or 95 on something like a H, like a chemistry exam, like a like a high school chemistry exam? Like that's crazy, bro. And if you want to get grades like that, deep work should be your main weapon. And that is only for your own benefit because you save more time when you're more focused. So there should be no like reason why you wouldn't want deep work. Because if you're not deep in your work, you will just waste time. Because you are not even learning like anything that is useful during the exam that will actually like improve your exam results. So please just learn how to do deep work. Progressively get into the habit of being more focused and more deep in your work. And check out the book by Cal Newport. I might link it in the description below. And realize that if you're able to implement this well, that is what you were missing the whole time. It's just how deep you are in your work, and that is how you are gonna do it. And you know, if you don't like school or exams, that's completely fine. But you should at least be able to have the skill of being good at exams. Because if you're good at exams, like no one will come and like disturb you. Your parents, your teachers, they'll leave you alone. And that is very freeing. Because now you have time for other things that you want to do in your life, like talking to girls or being better at fitness and like everything else. So I urge you, take deep work very seriously. Because that is how you're going to, that is the most high leverage form of studying that you can have. Cheers.